Hey everyone, Rhonda Robson with Rhonda's Tri-RRR-tistry. Thanks for joining me. Today is going to be a fun one. It is a full tutorial start to finish of my wine glass process. Let's get started because this is a full video.
Well, welcome back to my channel. Like I said in the intro, my name is Rhonda Robson and today is a step-by-step, full-length, very long, but well worth it video to create these amazing wine glasses. They have a piece of art on the bottom and they have a piece of art on the top. Now, if you want to know why I did these glasses, check out this video that I'm going to link up here. That explains why I go through this entire process and explains it really well. So go to that if you want to know why. I create these every year for a fundraiser that I do at my nonprofit, and it's called Wine About Winter. And I'm doing about 100 this year. Last year I did 175, and that was a lot. So let me get you down and let me start by showing you exactly the products that I use. Well, let me get you down. Let me show you that. Bye for now. Bye.
So the tools that you'll need will be like a tile, a glossy tile. I use a 6x6 glossy tile, or you can also use a silicone mat. It's really up to you. And then I use a turntable of some type to stretch the paint out. And the turntable I use, I put an old canvas on top of it. And then I have either a stick or a palette knife in order to make the designs in the bloom. So those are the tools that I use. Now the materials that I use are Sherwin-Williams Ultra White Semi-Gloss paint, and that is my base paint. Then in order to create the color paints, I use Sherwin-Williams Base C and polyacrylic, and then paint. And the polyacrylic is the Minwax polyacrylic. And I use those and I mix them together to create the paint color. Then I have a cell activator, and the cell activator is Amsterdam paint with Australian Floetrol. That's the materials that you're going to need. So let's start with the Australian Floetrol first, all right? So the Australian Floetrol is 20 milliliters to 5 milliliters of paint. So let's go ahead and put our 20 milliliters of Floetrol in this. Let's go ahead and go up to 40, 46, we'll go to 60. There we go, there's 60. And then 15 milliliters of paint. There we go. And you need to mix it really, really good. And that's the consistency of a cell activator. All right, so now let's make the colors. So let's start by creating the paints that you're going to need and the different mixtures you're going to need in order to create the bloom. Okay, for my recipe, I use the polyacrylic water-based clear gloss, and I use the base C of the Sherwin-Williams. I do 3 parts of the Sherwin-Williams to 1 part of the polyacrylic. So I'm doing the Sherwin-Williams, getting about 33 ounces here, and then I'm going to add 10 ounces, which will give me 43 ounces total. You mix that really well, and this is the consistency that you're going to get. Okay, so let's talk about the paints to use. I use all different kinds, and when I do my wine glasses, I make a lot of different paint. That way I can have multiple different colors and multiple different styles of wine glasses. But let me show you how I mix the paint mix with the paint colors next. I use 2 different methods. Typically, I do a 1-to-1 ratio, but right here I'm showing you the paint, and then I add the polyacrylic, and then I mix it, and then I add in the base C, where you saw me earlier mixing the base C and the polyacrylic together. So when I'm mixing a whole bunch, that's what I do, is I mix the mix first, and then I do a 1-to-1 ratio. If I'm only doing a few at a time, then I do it like I'm showing you right now. And that's the consistency you want for the colors. Okay, so now that you've got all the colors made to create the blooms, We want to make those blooms in order to make these amazing paint skins to create the wine glasses. Okay, the first thing you need is you're going to need your pillow paint, which I have there, the Sherwin-Williams Ultra White. And then my colors I mix with the Sherwin-Williams Base C and the polyacrylic, and then paint. And I'm going to link all of the different descriptions down below and the ratios as well. And so once you layer the colors on the pillow paint, like I'm doing right now, then you're going to put what we call a cell activator. The cell activator is my Australian Floetrol and the Amsterdam paint. And then you can see that I am blowing down into the white cell activator and across the colors. And doing that helps to push up these cells and this web look that you can see right there. And so then what I'm doing right now is I'm taking the pillow paint and just getting over the gloss tile, because these are gloss tiles, 6x6 tiles that I have, and I love using them because I can make multiple different designs. And so then once the paint has kind of gotten, you know, all the cells kind of started to pop up, then I start using some type of a device and I make little swirlies to create a design. Now, once you get the design that you're looking for or the composition that you're looking for, the next thing you need to do is you need to get the excess paint off. So you can either tilt the tile or you can spin it out. And so I'm going to spin it out. And then once you're happy with the design, once you've spun or you've tilted the canvas, then you just let it dry. Then you get an amazing paint skin that you can use to create these amazing wine glasses. Okay, so on bloom number 2, instead of using a tile, I'm using a silicone mat. And again, I'm still using the same pillow paint and the same consistency for the colors that I have, and using the Sherwin-Williams Base C and the polyacrylic and that mixture then with the paints. And so you layer the colors, and I tell people when they layer the colors to put the color on the bottom that you really want to see in the cells. I'm using all neon colors today, mostly Liquid Tex. I've got a couple Artezas and a Master's Touch in here, and I'm doing the full rainbow color look, all the way from the reds to the purple. All right, so then you can put your cell activator on. And for this one, you're gonna see that I'm using a hair dryer to push down and glide the paint, the cell activator and the paint across the pillow paint. And then I allow the cells, spend some time allowing that paint to come back into the center to kind of almost bounce back. And that also helps create the cells as well. And then if you wanna use a stick or something to create more of a design, you can. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting a little bit of the pillow paint on the silicone mat to help glide the paint across. If you don't have that, then sometimes the color of the paint, when you spin it out, the weight of the paint will kind of roll underneath the pillow paint. So this way it kind of helps glide it across that pillow paint. And so that's all I did there, was I just added a little bit of excess white paint to kind of make it a little bit more slicker as it goes across. And then this also gives me an opportunity to allow the cells to kind of pop up in the center and allow the paint to pull back into the center as well. And if you see that there's a big spot right there in the center, it's white, right? So then I have this tool, or I will use just a straw, and I do the same thing, and I just kind of blow down, kind of like a little puffs, and it pushes the paint down and it pops the cells up. So here you're seeing me use the stick, and I am kind of making little squigglies all throughout. And for me, I use the stick or I use a tool basically when I see too much of, let's say, the pink, and I want to bring maybe some green into it, or there's too much white and I want to bring some color into it. That's how I determine where to do the squigglies. It's really up to you. It's your design, but that's the reason why I do that, to break up the color a little bit more. And so with this, because it was on a silicone mat, I really wanted to keep those cells in the center, and so I spun it slowly, and then now here I'm spinning it a little bit faster. But what I did here, and that it's not a mistake but I would probably do differently next time, is I took my skewer again to get that center, and it came out okay. And especially since I am using this for the wine glasses, I probably next time won't use the squiggly after I've already spun it out. I think it was fine where it was now that I look back on it. And this is just a little bit more broken up than I wanted. But there's the glasses. Aren't they beautiful?
All right, so the next step, once the paint is dry, you are going to need to peel the paint off. You either have your paint on your tile or you have your paint on here. If you have it on here, it's super easy. You just, a silicone mat, you just peel it off. Really easy with that. For the tile, because it goes down the edges and the edges are not glossy, you're going to want to cut using with a box cutter. Be careful when you're using these tools, of course. Using the box cutter, and then you peel it off. So I'm going to show you exactly how I do this next.
All right, so I've got these tiles that I do paint skins on, and now you've got to get it off here. There is a certain paint that works and there's certain paints that don't work. So I will link my stuff down below so that you have that information. Because some paints don't. I do have a way that you can peel it off fairly easily. It's just not as easy as what I'm going to show you today. You actually have to soak the paint skin in water, the tile and the paint skin in water. But first, you've got to have a glossy tile. I take my straight knife, I call it an X-Acto knife, and I just kind of like go along the edge. And normally I do this on top of another tile to be a little bit easier, but I don't have a clean tile right now. So I'm just gonna do it here. But I take it across the edge like this. Try to stay as close to the edge as you want, as much as you can, because you want the full design. But you go from one corner to the other corner. And I hold my knife like this instead of like this because it's easy to go off and hurt yourself. So I just do it this way. Then you just pick up the corner, and let me show you how easy this is. This is how easy it is. Sometimes there's like little tacky spots, maybe from a past painting or something else that might be stuck on there, but that's how easy it is to get off. So I'm gonna keep showing you how to do that. And then what I do is I put it on top of a piece of paper towel, and then I'll layer another piece on top, and then I'll put another paint skin on here, because that way they don't stick together. Okay, so now that I've got one done, I'm gonna move this one off to the side because I'm gonna show you a little bit closer here. And I put it here, I put this off to the side too, and I come here and I get up underneath there, I just turn it, there. It's a lot faster once you have it on top of a tile and I don't have tiles around me. But right now I'm kind of showing you all the tiles that I have done so far for my wine glasses. And then you just peel it off, and that's how easy this is. It is so nice. And then I take these and I put paper towel on it too. So I have a whole bunch over here that I've used over and over and over again, because once you start putting these on top of each other, it has paint and they stick together. So I do the same thing with my tiles. So I'm gonna put that off to the side over here. This is one of my favorite ones that I've done. I can't wait to see what it looks like under glass. And there they all are. And here are all my tiles. They're a little heavy.
So now that you have it cut, you have a paint skin, right? And so for me, the next step that I do is I need to cut this. But because I like the same colors on the top that I do from the bottom, the same color theme, I will take my paint skin and I will bend it in half. And when I bend it in half and I actually press down, I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want that to do it right now, it seals really nicely. They stick together. And so if you have multiple of these and you're waiting, and I usually cure the paint skins, I let them cure for a couple weeks before I actually cut them. But I will take a paper towel. I will take a paper towel and I'll put the paint skin on top of it, and then I'll put another paper towel and another paint skin, and so that way that they don't stick to each other. But the next step that I'm talking about is they need to stick to each other. So I put it in half and I press it together and get it nice and flat together. Once it's that way, then I need to cut it, and I use a Cricut. But I also have discovered that, and I've talked about this in a previous video, that if you're not careful of putting what your design when you're using the Cricut with either your iPad or the computer or whatever you're using it with, if you don't put your skin down where you said in the computer that would be, you could end up with not a perfectly symmetrical circle. So this one right here just happens to have where the fold was at. So what I've done is I created these templates. So the sticky mat that you put your paint skins on to cut, I put those paint skins on, and then I have this, you can see, I have top and then I have bottom. And then I'll put these over top of them like this, in the areas where this matches up to the corner of that, to make sure that you see only skin through those holes. If I would see it like this, then I would need to move my paint skin, right? Because I don't want a straight edge here. So I used those, then I cut that with my Cricut, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do that next.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my paint skin, and this one just happens to be from a silicone mat, so it's a nice big one. It's not the small ones from the tiles, but you want to make sure that the skin is folded in half. So you take it and you fold it in half like I'm showing you right there. And then you want to press down really hard. It'll stick to each other somewhat to keep it sealed together. And as well as once you put it on the glass, then you seal it with resin. It actually works really well. So now I use my computer, my app, and then you push the button on the Cricut and it goes to work for you, and it makes perfect circles. Okay, so now that it's done, you just take off the excess, right? There you go. And there are some tools that you might want, because I use the really sticky sheet. And so sometimes a piece of paint skin gets stuck on there. And so I've got some tools right there that I'm using, and they work really nice. And so now I'm peeling off that excess, and then here are the amazing discs that we have. Perfectly circled and the exact same size that I need, because like I said, I did a template earlier to make sure that the size that I'm using for my wine glasses matches the sizes that I have created with my Cricut. So let's do that now with the paint skins from the tiles. So these are smaller, so I fold them in half, and I actually created a template out of cardboard to help me make sure that the circles are perfectly in the spots that I need the paint skins to be in the spots that I need them to be, to make the circles perfectly round. Because if you don't, you might actually get like a piece that is straight. So you're going to want to use that template to make sure that the skins actually come out in a perfect circle. So here's a close-up of what the Cricut looks like when it's actually cutting. And it has saved me, especially since I'm doing 100 of these every year at this time for my fundraiser. It just makes perfect sense for me to be able to use the Cricut. It just saves me a ton of time instead of hand cutting these circles. And there they are, and you can see my template off to the side there.
All right, so once you've got it cut, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to have a bunch of these discs, right? You're going to have all these paint discs. And now that you have the paint skin discs, you're going to need to put them on your glass. So how I seal them to the glass is I use liquid latex. I use Liquitex, and it's gloss medium, and I really like this one. I use a paintbrush, one that's not a good one, just a craft paintbrush, and I paint it on the skin or I paint it on the glass. I press the skin down and I put my finger on it and then I seal it. So let me show you exactly how I do that next.
Okay, I'm back. So we're going to take these paint discs for these 4 glasses and we are going to glue them to the bottom of the glasses using the Liquid Latex gloss medium. Now I use that instead of glue because it works just really nice and I have it around for my other projects. So what the first thing you're going to do is you're going to decide which side that you want to see from the bottom. And then what I mean by the bottom is when you're looking down on the glass. So once you've done that, you can kind of see me. I'm taking just a really light amount and I put it on the bottom there. And then I put it between my 2 fingers, center it that way. And then I press down in the center and I move my finger around in a circle, pressing the air bubbles and the glue to the sides. And that way it gets all the air bubbles out and it gets the glue completely spread across the glass. And there it is. Looks great. All right. So the next thing, I'm going to do the exact same thing with this one. I'm going to decide which side I want to have the paint disc on. So do I want the dark pink or do I want it to be a little bit more subdued? I really think that fluorescent pink looks really nice coming up there, so that's what I'm going to use. As you're looking down on the glass, that's the side you're going to lightly paint the glue or the Liquid Latex medium that I'm using. So I just use a brush and I lightly paint across it, and it's not really painting, but you know what I mean. I'm just spreading it on there. And then you're going to take it between your 2 fingers and center it. And so I center it with those 2 fingers, and then I also a lot of times center it with my other 2 fingers just to make sure. Press down in the center and move the glue and the air bubbles to the edges, right? And just make sure that it all gets nice and flat. You don't want any air bubbles in there, and if you need to move it around you can, but there it is. Looks really nice. All right, so we're going to do it again for these next 2. Same thing. You decide which side that you want to face from the top, right? So whichever side you're going to want facing to the top when you have the glass sitting down with wine in it, then that is what you're going to put the Liquid Latex medium on, or you can put it on the glass, it doesn't matter. And then you're going to take it between your 2 fingers again, center it in the bottom of the glass, press down and circle out. Now why do I press down in the center? Because there is an indent in that center. All right, here's the last time. I'm going to figure out which side that I want. I'm going to put just a little light coat of that Liquid Latex medium on there, and then I'm going to center it again with my 2 fingers, 2 fingers of the other direction too as well, and then press down in the center and circle. Okay, and there's all 4 of them. I absolutely love these.
All right, so now that the skin is dried on here, and I would say you'd probably need a couple hours to make sure it's dry. Sometimes there's a few bubbles in it, so you'll want to make sure that you get those glued down as well. So you can poke like a needle through it and then put a little bit of the Liquid Latex medium and then press down again to glue more down in there if you have that. So once it's dry, then I need to protect my glass from the resin, which is the step a couple steps from now, to seal the bottom of the glass and to make it nice and shiny. So I should say not only seal the bottom of the glass, but the art to the bottom of the glass. I want to put a protection of the glass here, and this is a tip. You don't have to, it's an optional, all of this is optional really, but this is just what I have learned over the 4 years I've been making these glasses, hundreds of them. So I put this Liquid Latex on the bottom here, and if for some reason when I tape my bottom to create this cup, and we're going to do that next after we do the Liquid Latex, the resin will get up underneath there, and if it gets up underneath there, you have to sit there and you have to scrape off this bottom, and it takes so long. So I recommend, it's quick, you just dip your paintbrush in and go, 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 and you'll be able to see how quickly it is to put this Liquid Latex on the bottom, or the top of the bottom. So let's get you down, let me show you that.
All right, everyone, we are going to put liquid latex from Monster on top of this, and that just helps protect the glass from the resin. And so I just want to kind of come along here, and you don't want to get it on the bottom because you want the resin to stick on the bottom. So just kind of get it a little bit on there and it'll dry. So we'll just put that off to the side. Quite a bit more on this. And I've used sponges. I've used just regular brushes before. So whatever works, whatever you have. I just happen to have an extra sponge, so. And this is like the makeup from, or stuff that you put on for Halloween, so it actually is pretty easy to get. I think I got it off of Amazon. I'm sure there's other brands. This is just the first one I got, and it's worked out pretty well for me, and it's lasted quite a while, actually. This is my second year of using it for my Wine About Winter glasses. And then what I'll do is I'll put tape over top of these later to add in a bowl effect or a cup effect for the resin to fall into. But aren't these glasses beautiful? I just love them. Both from the top and from the bottom. You don't need much, just enough to get a cake on there. And don't worry about if it gets on the stem, it comes right off. It's like awesome. So, all right, last one. Not pretty. Pink and red, kind of Valentine-ish. Okay. So I put this off the side. Let me show you one that's probably dry. Yeah, so here's one dry, and then I'll show you this last one. So that's what it looks like dry. You can't even hardly see it, but we'll put tape on that next. That's the next step after they're dry. Bye. Okay, so I wanted to show you that if you don't use the liquid latex, do you see that buildup on top of there? That is harder to get off. And so you spend a lot more time taking that off than you would the liquid latex. So recommendation, make sure you do the liquid latex. Okay, so for the tape portion, you're going to want a tile. The tile that I used for this paint skins works perfectly, but I really want to make sure that it is clear of anything, because when you put the tape on, you don't want it to stick. Now I'm going to use this blue tape. It's painter's tape, and it was cheaper. It's a little sticky, so I'm a little concerned that it's going to stick to the tile too much, but we're going to try it anyway. So what you do is you take the tape and you do all 4 sides of the circle. So making sure that you're creating a cup for the resin to stay on. So you don't want the resin to fall on the glass, the portion of the glass where the wine's at, right? You also don't want it to get on the bottom of the glass stem either. And if you do, it's okay. I know how, and I will teach you a trick that you can take it off. All right, so once you kind of have that, oh, yep, this is really sticky. So be very careful as you peel it off if this happens to you. Peel from the bottom. So use your hands on the bottom, because if you don't, if you have your hand wrapped around the actual glass portion and not the stem, you'll break the stem. So I've done it. Just a tip for you. All right, so I didn't like that tape, so I'm going to go back to the green Frogger tape and use that. It makes it a lot easier. Also, I like the whiter tape. I just wanted to show you there, the smaller tape. The whiter works better for cupping the resin, and so that's what I typically use. So again, you're just going to get all 4 of the sides. You see me doing that there. And then once you get that last piece on there, making sure that where the tapes meet each other, that you have that completely against the glass. And then you just peel it up, and then you make that cup so that it's not peeling or the tape doesn't go down, but that it comes up and it's wrapping around that glass. I'm going to show you how I do this again. Just take the tape, put them on all 4 of the sides, and then of course make sure that when you're done with that, that you rub where the sides or each pieces of tape meet, peel it up, make sure it's cupped, and you're good to go.
Okay, so now in this step, we're going to resin. And like I've said in other videos, you're gonna want the resin to go over top of the side. So you want it to flow over top and you want it flat. So you're gonna need enough resin to pull that up. So you're gonna end up having excess resin around here, but you don't want too much that it runs over the edge, right? So there is a trick to that. So let me show you exactly how I do that, but let me show you what resin I use. I use art resin. And this is the, let's see, this one's the hardener, and then this one is the resin. And so then you combine them 1 to 1, not weight, okay? Not the weight, but the 1 to 1 ratio and volume, okay? That's how you do these. And so you're gonna want that. If you don't have, like I wear cheaters, so this is my protection of my eyes, but if you don't have that, you're gonna want eye protection, and then you're gonna need a heat gun. So that's this right here. This is my heat gun. And you wanna be really, really careful with the heat gun because this gets super hot. So let's get you down, let me show you how I do that next step. Well, hey everyone, we're gonna show you how I mix my resin. I used to do it by a scale, and that was before I really got into using resin and realized that the scale's not going to help you. It's actually volume, and so you can kind of see that I have less of this and more of this, so and that's part of the weight. So how I do it is I use cups, and I fill it clear up to the top on the different hardener and the resin itself. So let's start with the hardener, and I use these big gloves. I don't use just the latex gloves because I want to make sure I protect my skin, and it gets really sticky and really yucky, so I just wanted to make sure I told you that this is really sticky. Okay, I knew I didn't have a lot of this, but I just wanted to use up as much as I could. So let's go ahead and close that up and put that in my garbage. Let's use this one. Okay, it's just above these little ridges. So that's what I'm gonna do with this one. To the side. That did that to me last time. I should know better. Careful with that. Okay, gets to the top here, just above those ridges. It's almost there, almost there. Yep, there it is. I'm gonna dump this in this one. Keep it out of the resin over here. And I'm gonna take my stick. I use the same stick and the same pail to mix in, and I just let it dry and harden. But you don't want dust, or you don't want pieces of hair, so you gotta be careful if you have animals around, or if you have a lot of long hair and you tend to shed a little bit, just be careful.
I'm gonna let that sit upside down for just a minute there. Okay, so there's that. And then I'm dumping this other one in there. And then you stir for 3 minutes. So let me get this all out. Alexa, set timer for 3 minutes.
Good morning, Rhonda. 3 minutes, starting now.
And you're gonna get air bubbles in it. It's just, that's just the way it goes. You can buy machines to get the air bubbles out afterwards, but I just use my heat gun. So I'm going to speed up the video so you don't have to watch all 3 minutes of this, but you want to make sure you stir this very well. Alexa, how much time is left on my 3-minute timer? Alexa, off. So as you can see, I'm pouring the resin into a funnel, into a narrow bottle, and I save bottles for this particular purpose. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all the resin inside this small bottle, and I can hold it, and I shouldn't say small, but narrow, but I can hold it and I can tip it a lot easier than I could with that bucket on top of the wine glass bottoms. So let me just kind of show you this, clean this up, and get started. Well, the first time I did that, I didn't use a funnel and it worked fine. This one was a little bit messier, probably because I was trying to talk to you and teach you at the same time. Unfortunately, that was a mistake. So anyway, just kind of put my funnel like that. And then this is now ready to put on my wine glasses. So that'll be our next step. I'll get us set up so that we can do that. Okay, so I just pour a little bit on top and allow it to spread, and then I'll come back later to see if I have enough. It needs to go over the top. Okay, and I get my heat gun. We'll start from the out, center out. So now that I have got them all done, this whole section, I am now going to take my heat gun and I'm going to spread it, and I'm also going to pop all the air bubbles. So I just kind of go in a circular motion, heating it up to make sure it gets over the sides, and then I make sure that the air bubbles are all out. On this one you can see how I have popped all the air bubbles in it.
Okay, so now that the resin is on there, you let it sit for no more than 24 hours. Sometimes I go back about 18 hours. So I'll do it in the afternoon of a day, and then the next morning I go in and I cut off that excess resin. You need to make sure that the resin's dry enough or set up enough that if you touched it with your finger, it doesn't leave a fingerprint, okay? And if you touch it and it does, then use your heat gun to help fix the fingerprint, and then allow it to dry a little bit longer. Once that's the case, then you're going to take the tape off, and then you're going to cut the resin. So let me show you how I do that, and polish it too. So let me show you how I do all those steps next.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Right now, this has been sitting for a little less than 24 hours, and the resin is still slightly malleable. So we're gonna test this to see if it's good enough to go ahead and cut it and to pull all of this off. Now, this first batch, I forgot to put silicone on the liquid latex, on the bottom of this. So we'll see if I have some excess resin on my glasses. But what you need is, you're gonna want some safety glasses, because when you do cut it, sometimes things fly. You're gonna want some type of a box cutter knife. I call it X-Acto knife. It's not an X-Acto knife, I know that. But you're gonna want fresh blades. I also have gloves that help. And then to polish, because it's still malleable, I have towels, and then I have my heat gun here. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to pull the tape off. So you start here and you start pulling. Now it looks like it's almost too malleable and it's not going to pull off. Well, nope, there it goes.
So the tape just kind of pulls off. Yep, that works good. And then this is what you have, right? This is still, it's dry enough to the touch that it's not gonna make any fingerprints and it's not gonna do anything, but it will, if you accidentally put the knife on there, it will make a mark on it. So you do wanna be careful. And if this were to be too hard right now, then you could heat it up with your heat gun to help cut. And you're gonna wanna find a spot and you're just gonna cut into it. And you're gonna allow your knife to go along the nice edge of the glass. You don't want to cut into it, meaning like you don't want to be like this because you're going to cut into the design. You just want to go along this using the glass as the guide. And if you have a nice sharp blade, you should do pretty good. So I'm going to come back through here. There's a couple areas that I feel like are a little too excess. It didn't get right down to the glass, which is right there. And then you want to look to see if you have any on top of the glass, and I do because I didn't have the liquid latex. Get my resin off, and it might be still too tacky to do this. No, it's doing pretty good still. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and this top area right here, I'm going to turn on my heat gun. So you turn it on low. To get it warmed up, and then you should be able to come in here and get that off there a little bit easier. What I do with, I'm going to show you the sides before I finish the top here. What I do with the sides is, because it's kind of jaggedy right there, I use my towel, my gloves to help me hold everything. Have my, and I take this and I go around the edges. And then I take my towel and I just gently go back and forth, and it's sawing or sanding the edges so that it's nice and shiny. Look really good. Okay, hold on. Here's this one. So yeah, that way. That way. And you can kind of see this one started to have a little bit of the resin on it right there. So I need to get a, if I don't want to scratch it, so I'm going to get a paper towel and put some water on it, and that'll help.
Okay, so now that you've done all that, you have this beautiful wine glass. The edges are nice, the top is flat. It's beautiful from this side and this side. I recognize that's a lot of steps, but let me tell you, it is so worth it when you give somebody your glass and they're going, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. I love wine charms. They're nice, they're awesome, but this is just that step up. And I even create wine charms. I've got one of them back here. I create wine charms even with my paint skins that I use, similar to what I do for here. But these are just so beautiful. And so I hope you enjoyed this step-by-step tutorial. Thank you again for joining me, and I really appreciate you. Bye for now. Bye.
Thanks for joining me today, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell. And if you like this video, I bet you're gonna like these as well. Thanks a lot and have a great day. Bye! Bye!